Hello and welcome back to another new edition of Cairo Watch that brings you the latest happenings inside Cairo and inside all of Egypt throughout the span of this program. We're going to be bringing you the latest happenings inside Egypt and also discuss the most important topics. Make sure that you keep our company. I'll be right back after this short break, so stay with us. Welcome back, and we start off with the presidential activities. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received head of the government of national unity of Libya, Mr. Abdelhamid Beiba, in Al Alamein city. Presidential spokesperson stated the president welcomed the head of the Libyan government of national unity of Egypt, emphasizing historical and fraternal ties between Egypt and Libya. The head of state stressed the need to intensify efforts to strengthen these relations to serve interests of both peoples and further the long-standing ties and cooperation between them. Ambassador Al-Shenawi indicated the president affirmed that Egypt has always been committed to stability and prosperity in Libya and ensuring its unity and territorial integrity. For his part, Prime Minister of the Libyan government of national unity expressed his appreciation for visiting Egypt and meeting President al-Sisi, highlighting the pivotal nature of the relations between Egypt and Libya. The two sides discussed opportunities for joint coordination to maintain regional peace and stability. In this regard, they agreed to intensify existing consultations between the two countries to confront regional challenges. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli received the head of the government of national unity of Libya. Madbouli emphasized the importance of this visit at the current juncture, noting that the president had, during his meeting with the Libyan delegation earlier that morning, underscored the deep fraternal ties between the two sister nations and commitment to strengthen these relations in a manner that serves mutual interest. The Prime Minister also emphasized the importance of bolstering bilateral relations between Egypt and Libya and develop them to a level befitting the historical ties between the two nations. He affirmed or reaffirmed commitment to consensus reached during his morning's meeting with His Excellency the President regarding the need to strengthen bilateral relations and activate a joint committee between the two countries. Furthermore, the Prime Minister expressed Egypt's aspiration to cooperate with its sister Libya and Libya in energy also sector, particularly regarding national gas and petroleum project refining, as well as in supporting the electrical interconnection network. He highlighted the importance of initiating the necessary coordination between the executive bodies of both countries concerning energy-related matters. And the Egyptian Red Crescent dispatched its 246 Zed al-Izza humanitarian aid convoy to Gaza Strip early Thursday, carrying 3,000 tons of food, medical supplies and fuel to the Gaza Strip as part of Egypt's ongoing humanitarian relief efforts. The convoy included more than 862 tons of food baskets and flour and more than 1,200 tons of petroleum products to support hospitals and other essential facilities in the trip. More details.
The Egyptian Red Crescent dispatched its 246th Zad al-Izza from Egypt to Gaza convoy early on Thursday, carrying more than 3,000 tons of humanitarian aid for Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The convoy included food baskets, relief supplies, medical equipment, medicines, and fuel needed to operate hospitals and other vital facilities across the Strip. The ARC, Egypt's national mechanism for coordinating aid deliveries to Gaza, said it has maintained a presence at the border since the outbreak of the Israeli genocidal war on the Strip and has kept its logistics centers on constant alert. It stressed that the Rafah border crossing has never been closed from the Egyptian side, and Egypt has delivered more than 1 million tons of aid to Gaza since October 2023, accounting for over 70% of all assistance sent to the territory, with nearly 75,000 ERC volunteers participating in the relief effort. The deliveries come amid continued Israeli restrictions on humanitarian access despite the ceasefire agreement reached in October 2025 through mediation by Egypt, Qatar, Turkey and the United States. Fewer than half the agreed number of aid trucks have been entering Gaza, while hospitals and other essential facilities continue to face shortages of fuel, medicines and other supplies. The overall toll since the start of the Israeli genocidal war on Gaza in October 2023 has exceeded 73,000 killed and approached 174,000 wounded, with thousands more believed to be beneath the rubble. Around 70% of Gaza's residential buildings have been damaged or destroyed, displacing more than 2 million people. According to the World Food Programme, more than 70% of Gaza's cropland is inaccessible, while only 3% remains usable, further worsening access to food, water, medicine and shelter.
There where millions wait. Not just for the end of the war, but for the beginning of life. Gaza, they are not just numbers, they are stories.
Welcome back. More business news. The European Union has disbursed 1.5 billion euros to Egypt under its macro financial assistance program, marking the second installment of a 4 billion euro package aimed at supporting the country's economic reform efforts and macroeconomic stability. The EU Commission said in a statement that the payment follows the European Commission's assessment that Egypt had met the conditions for the release of a second tranche. These include implementing agreed economic policy reforms, maintaining progress under its International Monetary Fund program, and fulfilling politically commitments outlined in the EU-Egypt Memorandum of Understanding. The €4 billion program was proposed by the European Commission in March 2024 and approved by the European Parliament and the Council in 2025. The latest payment is the second of three planned disbursements. The reforms supported under the program focus on strengthening macroeconomic resilience, improving public financial management, enhancing the business and investment climate, and promoting competition. And expectations for Egypt's economic growth have remained broadly stable over the past 3 months, while inflation forecasts have been revised higher as the economy proves more resilient to the Middle East conflict that initially feared. Egypt's economy grew 4.8% in the fiscal year that ended in June, according to the median forecast of 15 economists polled July 7th to the 16th. We have more details coming up.
Expectations for Egypt's economic growth have remained broadly stable over the past 3 months, while inflation forecasts have been revised higher as the economy proves more resilient to the Middle East conflict than initially feared. Egypt's economy grew 4.8% in the fiscal year that ended in June, according to the median forecast of 15 economists polled July 7th. To 16, edging up from the 4.6% predicted in April. Growth was expected to ease to 4.5% in 2026-2027 before accelerating to 5.3% in 27-28 compared to 4.6% and 5.5% respectively in the previous poll. Growth of 5.5% was forecasted for 2028-29. Official data showed the economy outperformed expectations in the January-March quarter, when preliminary GDP growth came in at 5%, exceeding earlier forecasts despite supply chain disruptions and the higher oil prices linked to the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran. In May, the central bank forecast real GDP growth would average around 5% for the fiscal year to end June, up from 4.9% forecast a month earlier. Hard currency sources also held up, with remittances from Egyptians abroad climbing 31.2% to about $43.1 billion in the July-May period of fiscal year 25-26, up from roughly $32.8 billion a year earlier, while tourism revenue and sales canal receipts also recovered. Foreign reserves had risen to $55 billion by end of June. The IMF said in June that it had reached a staff-level agreement with Egypt on 2 financing reviews, potentially unlocking $1.6 billion, and described the war's impact on the country's economy as relatively contained. However, the poll showed that the inflation was expected to average 13.5% in 26-27, up from 12% forecast in April, before easing to 10.4% in 27-28 and 8.6% in 28-29. Annual urban inflation cooled to 14.3% in June. The overnight lending rate was seen ending 2026-27 at 16%, according to the analyst poll, down from that of 17% forecast of 3 months ago and the current 20%. Meanwhile, the pound was seen at 49 per dollar by end of 2026-27, firmer than 51.5 predicted previously, though it was expected by 3 analysts to weaken to a median of 49.68 to the dollar by end of June 28 and 50.49 by end of June 2029.
Minister of Investment and Foreign Trade Mohammed Farid launched the Egypt Exports Initiative at Tanta University in Gharbiya. The initiative comes as part of implementation of President Abdel Fattah Sisi's directives to increase productivity, strengthen Egypt exports, and expand the country's base of exporters. Farid said Egypt has achieved sustained growth in exports, but stressed that real change lies in broadening the number of exporting companies. He noted that just 50 companies currently account for around 45% of Egypt's total exports, a concentration the ministry aims at reducing by reaching business across all governorates and helping them across international markets. He explained that only 730 companies have so far benefited from services provided through Egypt's export development system, adding that the ministry aims at reaching thousands of businesses nationwide. Minister of Industry, Dr. Khalid Hashim, said Egypt is seeking to deepen industrial cooperation by India by attracting more Indian manufacturers and industrial developers to invest in the country. Hashim said that the ministry focused on expanding bilateral industrial cooperation and exploring investment opportunities in priority sectors including renewable energy, food industries, automotive manufacturing, pharmaceuticals and electronics. He added that Egypt aims at translating its strong political and economic ties with India into tangible industrial projects by strengthening engagement between private sectors of both countries and alleviating the role of the Egyptian Indian Business Council. The minister further highlighted Egypt's competitive advantages for investors, including its strategic geographic location, extensive network of trade agreements providing access to international markets, skilled workforce, and the investment incentives offered by the government. Welcome back. For more details over the economic progress during the past month amid the regional escalation and the economic crisis that is prevailing the whole world as a result of the military confrontation between the US and Iran and other circumstances. Very delighted to be having with us over the phone Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, the economic analyst. Good afternoon, Dr. Ghoneim.
Good afternoon to you, madam.
The European Union, as we all know, will disperse 1.5 billion euro to Egypt under macro-financial assistance. What exactly would it be the benefits of the EU financial support in boosting the economic growth rates?
Well, actually, such economic support from the European Union is multi-folded. On one hand, it shows the geopolitical weight and strength of Egypt and its importance and significance, actually, to all the great powers that are interested in the peace and stability in the Middle East. Now, Egypt has proven to be the anchor of peace and stability in the Middle East. And its geopolitical weight adds to the efforts of stabilizing the region. That's on one hand. On the other hand, it also shows the confidence of the European Union in the Egyptian economy and the ability of the Egyptian economy to generate funds in foreign currency for the repayment of such facility. Also, it shows the confidence and the acknowledgement of the European Union as a great power in the success of the economic reform agenda of Egypt. This is similar to the finance and the release of the funds from the IMF to Egypt and from the World Bank to Egypt, because all these finances, they show the confidence of the multilateral financial institutions like the World Bank and the IMF in the Egyptian economy and its ability to generate funds in foreign currency for the repayment of such facilities.
Right. Egypt's economic growth expectations, they remain steady despite regional conflict. How do you weigh the government's efforts to curb the impact of the current economic challenges and results due to the regional instability?
Well, actually last year, or actually this year that closed June 30th, 2026, the fiscal year, Egypt was able to generate real economic growth of 4.8%. In the coming year, it's expected to generate 4.5%, and then in the following year, it's expected even to grow further at 5.3%. And such economic growth actually is a result of many factors. First of all, the Egyptian economy has shown resilience facing the geopolitical crises, starting from the COVID-19 crisis in 2020, and then the Russia-Ukraine war and the Israeli war on Gaza Strip, and then the present geopolitical conflict in the Middle East. Also, the Egyptian economy is a diversified economy. It rests on many sustainable factors, including manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, mining and clearing, energy production. Also, the success of the economic reform agenda that I've just mentioned on the fiscal and the monetary level, because if we're talking about the fiscal level, Egypt was able to reduce its budget deficit from 13.9% of GDP in 2013 to an expected level or targeted level of 4.9% in the coming year, and generating so-called primary surplus, which is the revenues minus expenses without looking at interest expense, at a positive figure. In the coming year, Egypt is expected to generate 5% of the GDP as primary surplus. This year that ended June 30, 2026, we're estimated to have closed with around 4% primary surplus, 4% of GDP, of course. Also on the monetary level, Egypt was able to control its inflation from as high as 39% in 2013 to an estimated level presently of around 11 to 12%. Finally, talking about the factors of growth of the Egyptian economy, we have to acknowledge the very strong and great infrastructure projects that were undertaken by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and under his leadership, railroads, roads, bridges, and building 22 new cities of the fourth generation cities. Also the investment that were made in the Suez Canal economic zone with 6 ports and 4 economic zones and industrial zones. So all these factors contribute to a sustainable growth in the Egyptian economy.
Right. To what extent have the renewed tensions inside the Middle East in the recent days over the closure of concerning the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and the Houthi attacks near the Red Sea impacted the global economy at large?
Well, actually, of course, the renewed tension, the renewed conflict in the Middle East did impact the whole global economy, and Egypt is a part of the global economy. First of all, of course, it affected the energy prices. Brent oil price increased from around $60 to $64 at the beginning of the year to $73 on Feb 28, just before the war started, and then to $115 during the war. Then after signing the Memorandum of Understanding, it dropped to around $72, which is lower than its level at the beginning of the war. Then after the resumption of tensions, it increased to $100 per barrel, and presently it's around $87 per barrel after the partial relief of the Hormuz Strait and the partial resumption of the navigation in the Hormuz Straits. That's on one hand, but also the energy prices affected inflation worldwide, and it is expected to affect inflation in Egypt also. The World Bank expects that if the conflict will continue further, then the prices of commodities worldwide will increase by 16% by the end of the year. Also, they expect the prices of fertilizers to increase by 31%, because of course natural gas is a main component in fertilizer. Also the navigation in Suez Canal was affected because a big part or most of the oil tankers that come out of Hormuz Strait, they pass through Suez Canal, then they go to Southern Europe and the US. Tourism also is affected in the whole region. Although the Egyptian economy does have, of course, factors of resilience and a diversified economy, but we have to acknowledge that, like all other economies, it will be affected by the political tension. That's why everybody hopes that the political tensions and the political conflict here in the Middle East should be resolved soon through a peaceful settlement.
Right. The IMF had earlier described the war's impact on Egypt's economy as relatively contained, and that's quite a good phrase. How do you assess the significance of this statement and the influence on Egypt's economic status?
The IMF has shown quite support to Egypt, and that's why the IMF released a new tranche of finance. I think it's $1.6 billion US dollars. And the reason here is that as we said, the success of the economic reform agenda on both the fiscal and the monetary levels, on one hand, on the other hand, the resilience of the Egyptian economy and its diversification. Also, we don't have to forget the geopolitical significance of Egypt to the major world powers that are interested in keeping or maintaining peace and stability in the Middle East. All these things contributed to the IMF support, and the significant impact of the IMF support is that it's like a certificate of appreciation and a certificate of trust in the Egyptian economy, and therefore it would increase the trust of other foreign investors, and it should contribute to increasing the flows of foreign direct investment in Egypt.
The Minister of Investment, Dr. Ayman, launched Egypt Exports Initiative, and that is quite a good one that came at the right time, especially that we are witnessing a boom right in the middle of all the crisis that is overwhelming the whole world. This initiative is aiming at expanding the exporter base. So how do you expect the success of this initiative in increasing the exports during the coming years, and acknowledge the whole world with the value of Egypt when it comes to an open market and a good source for investment?
Well, actually, the Egyptian economy is now geared toward increasing its exportation. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has put a target of $100 billion of exports per annum, of non-oil exports per annum, and this is not actually an imaginary target. This target is a realistic one. It's based on the investments that were made in Egypt in the infrastructure and in facilitating foreign direct and local investments in the manufacturing field. And also the President acknowledges the fact that we need to increase our export, our net export actually, in order to secure foreign currency for the importation of our necessities and for importation of high technology. And that's why the President always asserts that we have to localize the inputs of production, because we don't want to export for $100 billion and import, let's say, for $90 billion to serve or to service such exportation. But we have to localize the input of production and the input of exportation. Such target, as I said, is not an imaginary one, because if you look, for example, to a country like Vietnam, for instance, today it exports for $450 billion per annum, and Vietnam was bombed by Napalm in the 1960s. It was even hit harder than Japan, harder than Hiroshima and Nagasaki nuclear bombs. So our quest for exportation is based on our political will to start with, and the massive construction process that took place in Egypt during the last 12 years, and that aimed to transform Egypt from a rentier economy into an export-based and production-based and service-based economy. We're targeting to increase our exportation, especially from the Suez Canal economic zone, and we're targeting many industries, including ready-made garments, textiles, automotives, cables, of course, food processing industry based on the North Sinai development project on 620,000 acres, and the New Delta project on 2.2 million acres. We're targeting the food processing industries because Suez Canal or Suez Canal economic zone is targeting such sector based on the expected increase in the agricultural output from the projects that I've mentioned.
Egypt invited Indian manufacturers to expand the bilateral industrial cooperation to explore investment opportunities in priority sectors. How do you weigh this importance of this step by Egypt?
Well, actually, Egypt is cooperating with many countries worldwide. We're cooperating with Chinese manufacturers, Indian manufacturers, and Western manufacturers as well, because the Egyptian economic diplomacy tries to build, and actually it has built strong and stable relationships and balanced relationships east-west with the Western powers, including the U.S., Western Europe, and Great Britain on one hand, and also on the Eastern powers, including the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China. Actually, such building of strong relations and balanced relations worldwide helps also the negotiating power of the Egyptian negotiator to get the best terms for finance and for partnership with different countries.
Right. The government is seeking the expansion of the private sector's contribution in several vital economic sectors, as we all know. So how do you see the significance of the private sector's contribution in vital economic domains?
Well, actually, the empowerment of private sector is one of the pillars of the Egyptian economic reform agenda. And this is witnessed by issuing the state ownership policy document, the first edition and second edition. The Egyptian government has clearly stated all the sectors that it wants to maintain, and the sector that it wants to exit, and the sector that it's trying to increase its presence or decrease its presence. And now we're expecting to see an increase in the privatization of the state-owned enterprises, especially in the sectors that the government is trying to exit. Also, the empowerment of private sector, especially the small and medium-sized enterprises, is witnessed and was acknowledged by the multilateral financial institutions, whether we're talking about the new investment law number 72 of the year 2017, that allowed the government a lot of abilities to give incentives to foreign investors or to local investors also, and the Central Bank of Egypt initiatives to finance the manufacturing and agricultural sector, especially the small and medium-sized enterprises.
Right. On that note, Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, the economic expert, would like to thank you so much for your valuable input to Cairo Watch. You have a good evening. And we're going to go to a short break and we'll come to continue the program, so stay with us. Welcome back. Egyptian government is prepared to provide all necessary financial backing for a national program to discover and nurture talented individuals. The initiative is proposed within the directives of the President to build generations capable of competing and innovating. Minister of Finance Dr. Ahmed Kojuk emphasized the need to provide similar platforms to improve your youth skills and build national capabilities. Kojuk stressed the importance of investing in talent, noting that the ministry is studying the possibility of incentivizing various institutions to sponsor gifted individuals while ensuring the system's governance. The minister pointed out that I Am Talented initiative is launched in collaboration with the Ministry of Culture, the Supreme Council for Childhood and Motherhood, UNICEF, and other partners. The program has discovered 1,050 children with literary and artistic talents, later filtered down to 550 students. The gold prices in Egypt retreated on Thursday, according to Dahab Masri data. The 24-karat gold recorded 6,740 Egyptian pound for purchase and 6,650 Egyptian pound for sale, while the 21-karat gold price fell to 5,899 Egyptian pound for buying and 5,819 Egyptian pound for selling. Gold coins were priced at 47,396 Egyptian pound for buying and 46,715 Egyptian pound for selling. And the local gold ounce recorded 210,554,000 for buying and 207,528,000 Egyptian pound for selling. And finally, Egypt is launching an ambitious tourism plan targeting 30 million visitors annually by 2030. The strategy centers on expanding the country's hotel capacity to 500,000 rooms, streaming entry processes with new electronic visa systems, driving foreign direct investments and across established cities and emerging resort areas. The push to build more hotels and boost national hospitality infrastructure is already well underway with several major developments. And by this, we come to the end of this edition of Cairo Local Time. Many thanks to all of you. Please stay tuned for more coming up in 19.